This concept is known as the 20-hour rule and was popularized by the author Josh Kaufman in his book, The First 20 Hours, How to Learn Anything Fast. So with this rule in mind, I thought to myself, would I be able to learn a language in 20 hours? The problem is, I didn't want to go to a class to learn a language, so I opted to learn it by myself. So I installed Duolingo to learn Hindi, but instead, I learned the Dunning Kruger Effect. More about this later in the video. Like any other language, you start out with the basic 4 letters.
E.
If you are like me, who already knows 2 languages, you start out by trying to relate things with the language that you already know, which in my case was Tamil. And in Tamil, you have the same 4 sounds. So what happens, you get an instant moral boost and you think, oh, this seems easy, it's just like Tamil, right? And you reach the peak of confidence. A quick side story, this is a symbol of Ra in Hindi and this is a symbol of rupees. Do you find any similarities? Yes, the symbol is created using the Devangari letter Ra and the Roman capital letter R. The letters are derived from the word rupiah in Hindi and rupees in English. So the symbol is meaningful for both Indian and international users. Remember this, I'll tell you the reason for showing this in a moment. And as you traverse your way across the first unit, you'll also be learning these 4 letters along the other letters. But pay close attention because I'm about to show you something. These are the letters. I'll repeat this again. Nothing confusing, right? Yes, nothing confusing indeed, because right now you're at the peak of confidence. As you move on to the second unit, you will end up in a situation where you will be facing these 4 letters. D, da, t, ta. Wait a second, we already learned these 4 letters in unit 1, right? Didn't we? Yes, but these are actually different letters and different sounds. I'll show you what I mean. There is a very subtle difference in the sound, but if you can pay close attention, you will be able to understand. Okay, but this is just one instance, right? Well, let me ask you something. Do you remember the symbol for Ra and rupees that we discussed earlier? Now pay close attention. Now tell me, which is the right symbol for the letter Ra? Is it this one or is it this one? If you had chosen this, I'm sorry, but this is the right answer. Yeah, I know. Sounds a lot confusing, right? Well, welcome to the stage where you realize that there's more to this than you thought. After the first 2 units, you will start learning words like apple, water, banana, books, and so on. After the 3rd unit, you will start forming sentences right away. But the problem is, you're never taught on how to conjugate a verb. This turns out to be a huge problem by the end of the chapter. So, since I was trying to figure it out all by myself, this is what I learned. You use whom when you say verbs with the subject I. मैं खेलता हूँ. Ho when you say verbs with the subject you. तुम खेलता हो. He when you say verbs with subject he. वह खेलता है. हैं when you say verbs with the subject we or they. हम खेलता हैं. वह खेलता हैं. So this doesn't seem complicated, right? Well, let's try it with another verb. So let's say you have a verb like eat, which is kana in Hindi. So if you were to say I eat apple, it would translate to Hindi as मैं सेब खाता हूँ. So now that you know this, let's try to say you eat apple, तुम सेब खाता हो. Similarly, if you want to say he eats apple, it would be वह सेब खाता है, and so on. When you look at both the cases, you can see that Hindi seems to follow a rule. At least, that is what you would have learnt. But then, what would you think if you are asked to translate I have apple? If we follow the general rule that we have created, then it should sound like may, say, Hindi word for the verb have, This is what you would think, right? Based on the pattern that we have learnt. But it turns out you're completely wrong. This is how you should translate. मेरे पास सेब है. Okay, maybe it's just another rule that this verb seems to follow, right? Seems like a valid explanation. So now our general rule has turned into rule 1 and rule 2. Okay, now what if I want to say, I want apple? If you follow rule 1, it should be something like may, save, in the word for the verb want, whom. Or if it follows rule 2, it should be something like mere, in the word for the verb want, save, have. Right? Now you reach the point of I'm never going to understand anything and you start losing interest. The problem is, once you reach this stage, it's very difficult to get back up, as you start thinking that you're not good at this and this isn't working out. But if you pull yourself together and realize how far you have come along, that could give you the motivation to finish the journey that you have started. But for that, I wanted to understand why Hindi seems so difficult and different. But then I realized that all this time I've been trying to learn it in the wrong way. Let me explain. See, if you take the same three examples, I eat apple, I have apple, I want apple, you can see that English seems to follow a certain rule, like how only the verbs change but not the subject or the object. While in Hindi, the subject also changes, which is what my problem is. But if you try to translate the same three sentences in Tamil, this is what you get. நான் ஆப்பிள் சாப்பிட்றேன், என்கிட்ட ஆப்பிள் இருக்கு, எனக்கு ஆப்பிள் வேணும். By the way, this is my slang, this is not the exact Tamil translation, but you get the point. Now do you realize that in both Tamil and Hindi, the subject changes based on the verb. But I never felt any difficulties when I speak in Tamil, nor do I find any difficulties in understanding Tamil. This made me realize that the problem was not with the language, but with the way on how I thought about the language. So instead of trying to translate from English to Hindi, if I started translating from Tamil to Hindi, it would make it easier for me to reason out as to why Hindi follows a certain rule. With this understanding, I was able to crawl out of I'm never going to understand this to it starting to make sense. And as you progress through Unit 4 to Unit 8, you'll learn how to say various animals in Hindi, numbers in Hindi, present continuous sentences in Hindi, form questions in Hindi, and much more. And once you learn all this, you will realize that Hindi is complicated. But if you can put in the effort to learn it, it'll be quite rewarding. And this goes out not only for Hindi, but for any language, if you're ready to overcome this curve, or should I say, the Dunning Kruger Effect. The Dunning Kruger Effect occurs when a person's lack of knowledge and skill in a certain area causes them to overestimate their own competence. Similar to how I thought Hindi would be easy to learn right after learning only a few letters. But only as I progressed did I realize that I knew nothing. By contrast, this same effect also drives those who excel in a given area to think that the task is simple for everyone, leading them to underestimate their own abilities. Similar to how after completing 8 units, I still don't believe that I know Hindi, even though I have some knowledge now than ever before. This is what Dunning Kruger Effect is, and I hope you learned something new today. If you do, please let me know down in the comments. See ya.